Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. Happy, awesome Saturday to you. It is the Sabbath. It is the day of rest. It is the day to get some ass. And we are here to do this on the awesome Saturday service. I want to say good morning, Shauna. Wonderful to see you here today. Always a pleasure to have you here on the call. Anyways, today we're going to be continuing the series on magic words that I started a couple days back. We first explored the word let, or I'm sorry, the word the word is, or the word yes, and then we explored the word is, and now today we are exploring the word let. Let. What a word that we use so specifically and yet so unconsciously. So let is a word of divine permission. When God, when in the creation story, the very first creative word that we ever ascribe to God is being let. God said, "Let there be light." Let is something where God didn't manufacture light; God released the light, and so creation begins with permission. The light always was, it just God chose to let it be by saying, "Let there be light." So the light was, and then the light was released. And so creation itself is a permission thing. Creation isn't something that we effort into being, it's something that we allow into being. In the same way that God allowed light into being, we also allow light into being. We allow things into our lives simply by using the word let. And this is a divine pattern, and it's one that we can use with great effect in our lives. So we're taught throughout our lives that we need to take charge, we need to take control, we need to take over, we need to take the lead. Uh, but oftentimes in wisdom literature, whenever God is about to make some crazy change in somebody's life, that person doesn't say, "Okay, I'm taking the lead here." The person says, "Let." So, for example, a Mary when God says, "Okay, you're gonna have a kiddo from the Holy Spirit," Mary says, "Let it be unto me." When when uh, when Jesus is talking to Mary Magdalene, he says, let not your heart be troubled." Uh, so the fact of the matter is that letting is a part of spiritual creation. And so we have this illusion of control that we have in our own lives because we think that, oh, we have some kind of autonomy, but in the end, what are we doing except letting things continue to exist? There are things that the most important things in the world are things that we allow to exist. So, for example, we can't make peace. We can let peace rule in our hearts. We cannot make peace between somebody else who doesn't want peace and ourselves. However, we can let peace exist inside of ourselves. We can't force joy. We can let joy in. Well, we can't force joy to exist. We can't create joy by putting a smile on our face. However, we can allow ourselves to be the recipient of it. We can't control people. We can, however, let go of the need to control people, and in doing so, experience that same exact peace. So it's like, it's like is I remember when I was down in Costa Rica, I went whitewater rafting, and when you get into the river, there at the very beginning part when things are kind of slow, there is a there is a very real there's a very real sense of, well, we can control the boat, we can make the boat go wherever we want to go to the middle of the river, go to the edge of the river. However, once those rapids started, once we started to get into the place where there was the rocks and the water was fast, we weren't moving the boat where we wanted it to go, we were suggesting the where it wanted to go. The river was going to flow where it was going to flow. We couldn't by any strength of our white knuckles actually change the course of the river. What we could do is let the river go where it was going to go, and then just make sure that we were aligning ourselves with that. And so as I said before, let is the first word of creation. And so because creation begins with permission, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we are not yet giving permission to exist in our lives? What is it that we have not yet opened up and let go in order to receive? We don't We don't go into the future kicking and screaming and fighting. We go into the future by allowing the future to emerge. We let it be, as the in the wonderful words of John Lennon. There will be an answer. Let it be. And so, so the fact is that letting has a tremendous amount of power. So let is a language of openness. Let is participatory surrender. It's not like a suggestion when we say let this happen or let that happen or we let something happen. These are activation codes for our inner world. And so I hear it all the time when people are concerned about this and they say, well, if I just let things happen, won't I lose control? And yes, absolutely. And also, that may very well be exactly what is necessary. I found that in my world or in my life, there were some things that I felt like that I had to have rigid control over, and that when I had that rigid control, I felt like I was, that I was being successful for rigidly controlling something that did not necessarily want to be rigidly controlled. But I was like, okay, well, I'm being successful at life. I'm wrangling this thing, but boy, let me tell you, it was exhausting. And when I simply let what was going to happen instead, and I allowed life itself to carry me through in the same way that my raft was carried through on those rapids, I found that I was in a completely different location, a completely different space, a completely different spiritual dimension that allowed me to experience things in a different way. And so sometimes the control that we have is actually a cage that we build for ourselves. Sometimes saying, oh, it must be this way. It must be this way because this is who I am, which is usually why we believe something must be a certain way because it aligns with our view of ourselves. It is a cage that we build for ourselves and that we then live in. But let is how we find the door to that cage. Let is when we say, okay, well, perhaps the world isn't exactly as I thought it was going to be. And perhaps all of this neurotic control that I am working so diligently to exercise on something to keep it a certain way, perhaps if I allowed this to fall away, that something even better, something even more fulfilling, something even more enjoyable would take its place. And so what is it that we're letting go when we say let? What are we letting? And I think that there are three really major things that we let when we use the word. And the first one, of course, is letting go. So we let go of outcomes, we let go of grudges, we let go of illusions of control, we let go of guilt, we let go of who we used to be in service of who we are becoming. We can let in. We can let things in. We can let in peace. We can let in grace. We can let in the next step. We can let in the right person. We can let in the right relationship. We can say, okay, I'm going to allow this to be, and I'm going to see where it goes. And I can only stop letting it in, but if I never let it in the first place, then I'll never really know where it could have gone. And of course, one of the most powerful ones is letting be. We let things be. We let people or situations or even what's going on inside of ourselves, we let them be. As I sometimes have to repeatedly learn on social media, is that when somebody is annoyed on social media or somebody has some hot take on social media, is just to let that thing be, just to be like, okay, that just let that person have their opinion, let that person have their view, because they are not looking for logic, they are not looking for anybody else to come against them. Heck, they're not even looking for somebody else to do anything except emphatically support what they say. I remember very recently, somebody posted something, and I didn't even disagree with them. I didn't agree with them either. I just said, hey, here's something else to consider. As you are considering your current worldview, here's another little wrinkle that might help you to consider it better. And man, they got so mad at me. They got so mad at me, and I really thought about it for a while. I'm like, why is this person so unhappy with the fact that I just gave them additional information? And I realized later that it was because I wasn't emphatically supporting their point. And so therefore, in this wonderful polarized world that we currently find ourselves in, when somebody isn't emphatically supportive of the thing that we say, then they must be against it. They must be secretly against it or not so secretly against it. But if they're not emphatically supportive, then what their opinion doesn't matter. I realized that this person didn't have the capacity to let my ideas into their brain, even if my ideas probably would have clarified their thinking some and helped them bring them a bit closer to a more reasoned argument for the thing that they were purporting, without changing their view, without changing their without saying that they were wrong, because there was a lot that they were saying that was right. But the fact is that I've had to learn to just let these things be, to just recognize that a lot of times folks are not looking to learn anything. People are by and large looking to just have other people support what they already know and believe, and what they already think, so that so that so that they can continue to live without having too much cognitive dissonance. And so it's sort of like, when we use the word let, we simply establish that we have reverence for the reverence for the process of letting go, of being. So it's like, if you've ever tended a garden, we don't grow the plant. We simply make room for the plant to grow. We simply provide the environment where a plant can grow. I have some lamb's ear that I rescued from the side of a road, and it was growing in a place that was just not good for it. It kept getting run over by cars and stuff, and so I grabbed a cutting from it and I transplanted it, and I put it into an environment where it had an amazing ability to grow, and I weeded around it. And my goodness, that lamb's ear is huge. I've never seen a lamb's ear plant this big before in my entire life, and it's starting to go to flower, which is another thing that I've never seen in lamb's ear in my entire life, is lamb's ear going to flower. Did I grow the plant? Of course not. I didn't grow the plant. I simply created a place where the plant could grow. And that is what letting is all about. So, how can we use this word intentionally? Because so oftentimes I notice that when this word pops up in my head, it might ring an alarm bell in my head. Hey, I just used that word. And I think about how I used it, and I consider it to myself. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think that if I was more conscious about it, that I'd have used that word that way. And so here's a couple of let statements that we can incorporate into our daily practice as things come up that are not as we prefer them to be. We can say, "Let me see clearly. Let it be enough. Let love guide me. Let me be still. Let's let God handle this one." And so, even when we're going into difficult conversations, when we just allow things to be by using the word let, it gives us a tremendous, tremendous sense of power and control over ourselves, which ultimately is the only party in the conversation that we ever can control. We can't control what other people think. We can't control the way that they receive our words. We can control how we behave. And when we use the word let, it allows us to have a greater level of control over how we behave, how we think. So the word let is about alignment. It's not resignation, it's alignment. When we say let this or let that, or I'm going to let this be this way, we're simply saying I'm aligning with what already is. I'm aligning with a trend that already is coming, as opposed to as opposed to when we say to ourselves, well, we are resigning ourselves to this fate. Okay, well, I guess I'll let it be that way. Perhaps let's realize that that a more empowered way to look at this is to say, we are aligning with what already is. So let isn't a command. Let is a cue for co-creation. And so instead of pushing harder or trying to climb faster or tightening our grip on reality, why don't we just let? Why don't we just let ourselves be led? Why don't we just let ourselves experience love? Why don't we just let ourselves shine from the inside? Why don't we just let light into our lives? Because as we do this, we are once again invoking the very first word that was ever used to create, and consequently becoming conscious co-creators. All right, my beautiful friends, I want to say thank you so much for coming to the Awesome Saturday service. Happy ass to you. Thank you so much, Shauna, for coming here, commenting. Whoever's watching me on YouTube, love you, care about you. Leave a comment. I'll be happy to say hello. But anyways, I will return on Monday at 9 a.m. with another wake-up call. I will be going through some more of the really empowering I am statements. As you guys, if you've watched this series at all, are well aware, I am are very, very powerful words that we use to completely define our relationship with what is. So, anyways, I will talk to y'all on Monday at 9 a.m. Until then, I love you. I care about you. I appreciate you. I think that you are awesome. And so let's take this Saturday that which is so awesome, and let us recognize and celebrate our inherent value and worth. I'll talk to y'all. I'll talk to y'all on Monday at 9 a.m. Until then, I love you, care about you, and appreciate you, and we'll looking forward to seeing you soon. Aloha from paradise. Good morning, Jen.